Hey, what's up, Superman fans? Want to say Happy New Year to you all. Happy 2014. If you're watching this video, you made it to 2014 and consider yourself blessed for being here. 2013 was a pretty great year for movies. As you know, we had Man of Steel, which turned out to be my favorite movie, or at least one of my favorite movies of 2013. And since then, we've had the announcement about Batman, Superman, and just some, the Ben Affleck announcement, the Gal Gadot announcement, and some other rumors that were going around about the movie. So here we are in 2014. And I just had a birthday a few days ago, so I'm a year older. And this is my first video of 2014. So just want to say welcome back to you all. Thanks for watching the videos, and let's keep this movie news going. So, as you may know, we got some pretty big news on yesterday about the Man of Steel 2 movie, or the Batman Superman movie, that was slated to come out in 2015. The big news is that the movie has been delayed 10 months, and it's now slated to be released on May 6th of 2016. So I want to discuss that a little bit in this video today, talk about what it could actually mean. Talk about why it happened, or the possibility of why it happened. Just look at it objectively, as I always do, and just determine where we go from here about our thoughts and our opinions about the Man of Steel 2 movie. So with that being said, let's jump into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the biggest rumor about why this happened, which is the rumor that Ben Affleck injured his leg or something like that, that prevented him from starting the film, which was, I believe, supposed to be slated to start filming next month in February. So that was the biggest rumor that was going around, that Ben Affleck had some sort of injury to his leg. As it turns out, it seems that rumor isn't true, because I believe Ben Affleck is on the set filming for another film as we speak. I think he was filming this movie called Gone Girl or something like that, but he was, as far as we know, he's definitely filming that. So no one knows for sure whether or not he hasn't had an accident or not, but as it turns out, it's just seemingly a rumor. And, that kind of stuff happens usually when movies cancel or, they postpone a date. A lot of rumors get started as to what happened. Ben Affleck may have, bumped his knee or something on the set of Gone Girl, and then it turned out to Ben Affleck injured his leg, so he can't film for Man of Steel 2. So anyway, that's very likely why that happened. All right, so on to the big question about this whole thing. When stuff like this happens, it always kind of leaves us wondering, like, why? Like, why? What's the big deal? Why do you stop a movie that's slated to be in production or to start filming probably about a month away? Why do you all of a sudden, a month or less away, and then all of a sudden, say, okay, we're going to push the date of the movie back to 2016, that 10 months. So that begs the question of why. Like, what happened? What is the big thing that happened? What significant thing that took place to make them push this movie back 10 months? 10 months is pretty much a year. So I want to get into some theories and some things that may have contributed to that, in my opinion, and then get you all's opinion as well. So first of all, let's talk about what's not the reason. And guys, I know everybody's still kind of a little on edge and shaky about the Ben Affleck playing Batman decision and the Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman decision and all of this kind of stuff. But listen, Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot are not the reason, or their acting skills or anything like that are not the reason why this movie has been postponed. Warner Brothers in DC and Zack Snyder and David Goyer didn't just all of a sudden say, oh, we may want to recast, Batman. We thought Ben Affleck was going to work, and, he's not going to work. These guys are under contract. Same thing with Gal Gadot. She's come in and she's signed the contract. These people are on to play these roles. Now, again, that's not to say that something couldn't happen where, a certain clause in the contract that said if the directors or somebody wanted to recast it, they couldn't. But I'm just saying that it's highly unlikely. So it's not, guys, don't automatically start thinking that, oh, Gal Gadot, and then because everybody online starts saying, no, Gal Gadot is so skinny and she can't play Wonder Woman. Now all of a sudden they wake up and say, a month before they are supposed to start shooting, they wake up and say, oh, you know, all of the people online are right. Gal Gadot does not look like Wonder Woman. Didn't happen like that, people. So, again, that's what it's not. It's not Ben Affleck. It's not Gal Gadot. It's not the casting choice of these two people. So I just wanted to square that away before we get into what the possibilities of what the reasons actually are that this movie is being postponed. Now let's get into some theories about why this could have happened. So let's talk about usually why something like this happens. Usually why a movie company or, you know, anybody like that would postpone a major production movie would be in the same case of something like what just happened with Fast and Furious, where Paul Walker died, which was very unfortunate. So that a major player in that cast is now not going to be in that cast. So of course they have to stop, kind of figure out what they're going to do to change directions, or, you know, or anything like that, or how they're going to recast, or if they're going to recast. So they have to stop for a minute and pause and figure those things out. If it's not that, usually something happens where, you know, there's like a natural disaster or something like that. You know, they're due to film in, you know, some country, and that country has an earthquake, or you know, something just happens to the city where they can't, something actually physically happens where they can't film. Or, you know, in the case, like I say, maybe Ben Affleck did hurt his ankle or leg or whatever it is and is unable to film. Now, usually that's the cases of why, you know, these production companies will stop or will postpone a movie franchise for such a long period of time, or such an undetermined period of time, I might say, and then I'll get into that in a later part of this video. But anyway, that's the usual reasons. Now, my theory number one about why this happens, and this is, I think I'm going to stick with this one for a little while. I honestly don't think that they have their cast yet for this movie. I don't think that they've casted the people who they want in this movie, like the Lex Luthor, because, you know, we've all gotten the rumors about Bryan Cranston being Lex Luthor, and just recently, about a couple of weeks ago, that's kind of resurfaced again. It's something supposedly happened where there was a rumor about Bryan Cranston meeting with WB or something like that. But anyway, so maybe that, whatever happened with that, if that happened, maybe it did fall through. And maybe that they're just stuck right now on who's going to play, you know, certain characters like Lex Luthor, or if they're going to have a Flash in the movie, if they're going to have, you know, cameos from other Justice League members, and things like that. I think they're kind of stuck on, you know, that kind of stuff to actually see who's going to play these roles, because I think again, there's a lot riding on this franchise, guys. You got to really understand that there's a big weight that's put on their shoulders about how this franchise is going to go forward. Man of Steel, you know, was pretty successful, and I think that Warner Brothers have always kind of been, well, relatively compared to Marvel, they've always been a little kind of timid, I would say, to kind of step forward and do things, and I think that's kind of still their attitude. So with maybe them not having all of the cast members and stuff that they wanted, maybe they had to stop and take a break and say, okay, well, we really need to get this cast down. We really need to nail who Lex Luthor is going to be, or Flash, if he's going to be in this movie, or whomever is going to be, so we can make this stuff happen. Now, excuse me, let me tell you why that's my theory. If you look at some of my prior videos, you always hear me say that in the coming months we're going to hear some news about Man of Steel 2 and who's going to be in it and all this kind of stuff. Now, granted, this movie was supposed to start next month in February. So by now we should have known if Lex Luthor was going to be in this movie. By now, some sort of rumor or, you know, some sort of announcement or something probably would have leaked to say who's going to play these characters. And none of that's come out. We still don't know who Lex Luthor is going to be, or even if he's going to be in this movie. So with stuff like that, and if they're going to, you know, how they're going to play this thing into the Justice League, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we have no idea about who these casted members are, or even if they're casted, or even if they're going to be in this movie. Usually by the time, you know, a movie like Avengers started, by the time that movie was slated to start shooting, we pretty much knew who was going to play who. We knew Chris Hemsworth was going to be Thor, you know, The whole cast. We pretty much knew everybody who was going to be, because they knew once the film started, there were going to be some pictures of some cell phone pictures was going to be online. People were going to be spreading it around. So they made an announcement to, put it out themselves. So with Batman Superman, or Man of Steel 2, whatever they're going to call it, and I don't even think they have an official name for it yet. We don't have that yet. So again, that's why I kind of think that they haven't really cast who they're going to cast in this movie yet. And I think this is the number one theory, my biggest reason I think that this happened, that they're postponing this movie. Now, my number two theory about this whole thing is that, as you may know, or if you don't know, Ben Affleck brought in his screenwriter from Argo, Chris Terrio. He brought in his scriptwriter, and WB hired him to come in and kind of do some rewrites to the script and rework the script. And that's pretty normal for all movies, guys. They always kind of at, midstream, as things are going on, they hire another screenwriter to come in and kind of look over the script and say what you would change and all of this kind of stuff. That's pretty common in movies, period. So my second theory is that Chris Terrio came in and he reworked this script so much that Warner Brothers kind of had to stop and go back to the drawing board and figure out how this movie needed to be done. It happens. If you come back and it's not just all the time. It's not just kind of changing a few things here and there, changing a few, a little bit of the dialect here and there. It's a lot of times it's reworking, the physical environments and all of this kind of stuff of the script to kind of make it make sense on screen, and that's what screenwriters do. So possibly that Chris Terrio came in and reworked this script to the point of where this movie kind of needed to pause, take a break, figure out how it was going to be done again, and then start shooting again. So that's my second theory about why this movie was postponed. Now, my third theory about this whole thing, and this is the one that I'm kind of dreading if it's true, because I tend to have a pretty optimistic attitude about Warner Brothers and DC when it comes to the DC universe. But the third theory is that simply that Warner Brothers and DC just simply were off their rocks with this whole Batman Superman thing, trying to create a Justice League universe and the whole nine. They kind of were probably jumped the gun a little bit, made the announcement at Comic-Con on last year to kind of get some attention, and they were just off their rocks. They were kind of shooting in the dark about what they're doing. Maybe they did have some kind of idea about how they were going to make this movie happen, but maybe it wasn't as formulated as we all thought it probably should have been for them to make that announcement. So that's my third theory, and if that's the case, it just kind of says a lot about Warner Brothers and DC, that they really are just trying to keep up with Marvel. Again, I don't think that that's the case, but again, looking at this whole thing objectively, that's a side of it that we kind of have to consider. So I don't think that, I don't necessarily think that that was the case, but again, it's a possibility because these guys have been, like I said, we've been kind of getting some sporadic announcements. There's nothing about this that's really said that there's been this well-formulated plan. With the exception of the usual stuff, announcing a few cast members here and there, announcing that it's going to be a Batman Superman movie and stuff like that. Other than that, we've seen nothing that was kind of solid to say that this was a well thought out plan and well put together. So we have no idea. That's something that we kind of have to consider. Now, again, that's my third theory, and I'm putting that third on the list. I hate if that's true, but objectively, that's something we have to consider. Now, with all of that said, another question that this really begs is that what's really going on over at Warner Brothers? I mean, what's really happening with them in this DC franchise altogether? I mean, can we really expect to see a Justice League movie in, by 2017 or 2018 or whatever the year may be? Because as of now, we don't know. Now, let me say this. Here's the problem with the new Man of Steel release date. Now, that puts Man of Steel 2 or Batman Superman on May 6th of 2016. Now, first of all, May has been pretty much Marvel's month for the past 4 or 5 years. They've released all of their movies in March. I think even Iron Man 1 if I'm not mistaken. I don't know for sure, but I think that even came out in May of the year that it came out. So first of all, it's Marvel's month. So, and also they have a movie slated to be released, not Marvel, but I think it's Fox that owns X-Men. So X-Men Apocalypse will be, it's slated to be released in May of 2016 as well. So, and then we keep hearing about this unnamed, some Marvel movie, something else that's supposed to be released in May of 2016 as well, like a week or two apart from, you know, these dates. Now, the problem with that is some of these dates, again, are going to be changed. And right now, I don't even think that Man of Steel is going to stay May 6th of 2016, because it's a bad situation for everybody if all three of those movies, the X-Men Apocalypse, Man of Steel 2, and whatever the unnamed Marvel movie is going to be released a week or so apart from each other. That's going to be a bad situation for everybody, because they're going to compete too much with each other. So if the studios are smart, somebody's going to change their date. God forbid we don't get any more news about, you know, Superman moving it to 2017 or later in 2016. So that's the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems with this whole thing. So keep that in mind as we go forward. I'm really interested to see the news that's going to happen, that's going to come out about this, and how they're going to explain some of the stuff, because inevitably Zack Snyder is going to be interviewed. A lot of these guys are going to be interviewed, and they're going to be asked these questions. And usually the production company, Warner Brothers, whomever, will put out some kind of statement to say whatever, and then, you know, it'll fly around the internet. But I'm really interested to see in the future how this is going to play out, and see how 2016 now is really going to play out. Now, lastly, I'll talk about how I feel about the whole thing. And I have to admit, guys, my hopes went down maybe about 2 to 3 points about the success of this movie now. It just did. I mean, it was a kind of a big blow to me, because I always, like I say, I'm pretty optimistic about it, and my expectations are pretty high. And thus far, DC and Warner Brothers have done a good job. Like I said, I loved Man of Steel, the first movie, and I think that they were going to, you know, do good stuff and build off that universe. I thought the Ben Affleck choice as Batman was an excellent, genius choice. I was kind of a little bit more borderline with the Gal Gadot choice, as I still am. But I mean, like I say, she's cast now, so I honestly don't have a problem with it. I really focused my attention on looking forward to how they were going to make her into Wonder Woman and seeing her as Wonder Woman. However, now with this new decision, with this date being pushed back, it really says that, you know, something is going on there at DC or Warner Brothers that, you know, maybe we don't know about, that's bad enough to make them postpone this movie. 2015, as the movie was supposed to be released, was a monster year with, you know, with all of the movies that were coming out in 2015. Now, you know, it's being moved back. So one good thing about it is I do believe that kind of guarantees a little bit more success for Man of Steel 2 or Batman Superman at the box office. So I think that's a good thing, instead of having it compete with the movies that it was going to Avengers 2 that it was going to compete with in 2015. But anyway, like I said, my optimism, I guess, it went down a couple of points. Overall, I'm still looking forward to the movie. I'm still optimistic about it. I still think that it's going to be great. On the positive side of it, I'm glad that if something was bad about the movie, if something was really bad about the script, that caused them to stop and rework it and restart the shoot and that whole thing, I'm actually glad that they did so. I would rather them do that and give us an awesome Batman Superman movie than keep going, put it out in 2015 and it suck, and then it's over for everybody. Because, guys, I've said it 100 times before. If Man of Steel 2 or Batman Superman flops, I think Justice League is out, guys. We have no chance. If the two biggest superheroes of all time, the Superman and Batman, if that doesn't do well, I mean, we can hang it up, guys. So anyway, I guess on the optimistic side, I am glad that if something was bad enough for them to make this, to postpone this movie, that it was bad enough to make them do that, and that they are fixing it, and it's going to be a better movie. So if that's the case, I'm all good with it. No complaints from me. However, if it's something that, you know, that says, if it's something that speaks incompetence on their part, I'm a little less optimistic about that, because it's like, guys, come on, man. I mean, you got to have a plan together by now. I mean, it's really, in some respects, it's really not that hard. I mean, you know, just do it. Step out on a limb. Give us a movie. Hope the best. Hope for the best that it works. I mean, really, because that's all you can do anyway. Get your best guys on the movie. I think you got a nice team on the movie. The David Goyer and Zack Snyder. You got Ben Affleck. You got Henry Cavill. You got Gal Gadot. I think you put the cast together. I think you figure out how to make them work together, and you make this movie and give us a good movie so that we can have a Justice League. I mean, and you can't really help but compare to what Marvel is doing. I mean, Marvel Universe is, I mean, we're getting ready to see Avengers 2, guys. These guys are putting out, what's the movie called with the Guardians of the Galaxy? They're even giving us that, like, crazy stuff like that. Who would have thought we would have gotten a Guardians of the Galaxy? So, Justice League can be 10 times more popular than a Guardians of the Galaxy. So I believe that if Marvel is doing stuff like that, then Warner Brothers should be, to at least by now, at least by 2014, at least that you've formulated some type of plan to give us this universe, give us these movies, make happen what we need to make happen to get these movies off the ground, and show us that Justice League is good or better than Avengers can be. So anyway, with that being said, like I said, that's kind of my opinion about it. My optimism dropped a couple of points. I'm going to be looking forward to more news about what's going to come out in the future pertaining to Man of Steel 2 or Batman, Superman, or whatever it's going to be called. We don't even know what it's going to be called yet, guys. And that's another thing. Like, give us a title. Give us some hope that, you know, the S symbol stands for hope. Give us some hope that this, you know, that you have a grasp on this whole thing. That's all I think us as fans are asking for at this point. I think for the most part, we're still on board. I definitely am. I'm a DC fan, period. I'm a Superman fan, period. It would take a hell of a lot to get me off that train. So I'm still a DC fan, but I just think when stuff like this happens, you have to kind of stop and think like, wow, man, like really, what are y'all doing? We were looking forward to, man, we're getting a Man of Steel 2 really quick in 2015, and now it's like we got to wait another year. It's 2014 now, so you're talking about over 2 years away now. You're talking about, we're in January of what are we in, 2014? 2016 is when the movie comes out. So you're talking about two and a half years away from right now. Oh my God. So anyway, that being said, guys, again, always let me know what you think about it in the comments. What do you think the reasons are that this movie is being postponed, and how do you feel about it? What do you think that's going on with Warner Brothers and DC to make this change like this happen? As usual, I'll be putting out some more videos pretty soon. Again, this is my first one of 2014, so again, I'm back, everybody. So if you like what you see, definitely go down, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to my channel, because as news comes out, I promise you I'm going to be talking about it. I'm going to be putting up some videos, and this is the kind of stuff that you don't want to miss. So anyway, with that being said, guys, I'll end the video here. Hope everybody's doing well. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.